Good to be back. Been busy, haven't had a chance to get down here for a video for a while. Back at the beach, Byron Bay, northern New South Wales of Australia. Got to give a shout out to my three favourite places to eat down here: the Harvest at Newry Bar, Lilium Cafe up at Wilson's Creek, and the Treehouse at Belongil. If you ever get a chance down here, fabulous places to eat with really good locally sourced food. Just had my lunch at the Harvest, who continue to provide a really good service to the local community, so I like to support them as well. So today I'm going to talk mainly about the sun, about 3 studies this week that have supported the hypothesis that sunlight is incredibly good for us as a species. Well, of those 3 subjects, 1 was about the eye, 2 was about the entourage effect of sunlight, and the 3rd one was about the circadian rhythm of the gut immune system and our risk of gut infections. So if you want to know about good eyesight, if you want to know about good immune system, if you want to know about good gut function, keep watching. Alright, I'm back. It's just an amazing day down here today. So today's video, of course, is consistent with my 2 main principles. One is that true health comes from living life in harmony with nature. Consistent with the Gaia theory, states that all living species in their inorganic surroundings have evolved together as a single living system. It's a surprise, surprise. And also the statement by Carl Friston that the anatomy of any living system must contain within it a model of the environment in which it's immersed. And the second principle, that Bitcoin is money for the people, by the people, part of the peaceful revolution. And actually, while I was having lunch today up at the Harvest, I was reading this great book by what was his name? His name is Saja Popham, called Evolutionary Herbalism. In that first chapter, he says there is a spiritual illness pervading society, both individually and collectively, whose root cause comes from the illusion that we are separate from nature. And he compares that to the statement by Albert Einstein that the solution to any significant problem is not going to be solved with the same level of thinking which caused the problem. And he compares that to the concept that solutions to problems caused in a laboratory are not going to be found in the laboratory. They're going to be found in nature and its plants and rhythms. So that's kind of the theme for today's video. So let's have a look at the studies. I'm not going to talk about Bitcoin today. I'm writing a lot about Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies on my Patreon page. So if you want to join us there to get the latest information on health and the latest information on cryptocurrencies, you can come and join the community there. So what was the first study? Well, no, there was actually 2 studies about the eye. And the first study was that the risk of macular degeneration, which happens to us is the most common cause of failing eyesight as we get older, and that the risk of macular degeneration is reduced dramatically by getting UV light on the eyes during the day. And of course it's midday down here in Byron, so this is when the UV light is highest, which is why you never see me wearing sunglasses when I'm down here, because I want the benefits of that UV light on my eye to reduce my risk of macular degeneration. And the other study was showing that exposure to the light at sunset, primarily the violet light, which is high at sunset, help reduce the risk of myopia, which is blurred distance vision. So getting natural light on our eyes is very, very important. Second study, basically, well, it wasn't a study, it was a research paper just looking at the entourage effect of sunlight, basically stressing what I've been saying for a long time, that sunlight is not just about vitamin D. although that's a very important component of it, as is melatonin, production of melatonin by the pineal gland in our mitochondria. But sunlight brings us extraordinary other benefits as well that you're not going to get if you're getting your vitamin D from a capsule. And those other effects are that improvement of the immune system, because the T cells of our immune system mainly hang out in our skin. Well, why are they hanging out in our skin? Because they're communicating with sunlight, and that sunlight excites the T cells and makes them work better. So you get a better immune system. You get production of opiates in the body. And I discussed that a few months ago, where the theory is that one of the precipitating factors for our current opiate crisis is the fact that we're missing out on producing our own opiates from sunset, and we're looking to obtain those opiates from somewhere else. We also get production of serotonin, which improves our mood. We also get increased production of dopamine, which does the same thing. We also get improved production of nitrous oxide, and nitrous oxide is what makes our blood vessels dilate. It keeps our blood vessels soft so they can dilate and constrict appropriately. So sunlight is going to help reduce our blood pressure by keeping nitric oxide levels high in our blood vessels to keep our blood vessels supple. And the third study, what was the third study? The third study was on the circadian rhythm and our risk of gut infections. So it turns out that the immune system of our gut responds to our circadian rhythms. By that it means that our immune system and our gut works much more optimally during daylight hours and goes to sleep after it gets dark. So if we're eating food after it gets dark, we don't have the same protection in our gut against pathogenic microbes, so we're more likely to get gut infections. And it's interesting that most traditional health systems have always taught that we should be eating our 3 meals during daylight hours. And that's what I try and do, and I'm nowhere perfect with that because life gets in the way, but that's my goal. Also that, because you're stopping eating, certainly during winter, early in the evening, so you get that long period of fasting overnight, so you're doing a little bit of intermittent fasting. And I also have my biggest meal for lunch. I have a moderate sized breakfast, I have a larger lunch, and have a small dinner, because trying to match the circadian rhythm in my digestive function as well. So try and get all my eating done during the day, biggest meal for lunch, moderate breakfast, small dinner with a lot of good healthy fats. So that was a great kind of week for the benefits of sunlight. Improved immune system, improved general immune system through the T cells, decreased risk of pathogenic microbes in the gut, and reduced risk of macular degeneration and myopia. So when I'm out here, I'm very careful with the sun, because everything in life has risks and benefits, so we have to be wary of the risks. And some of the things that I do is I always talk about to protect myself from the sun when I'm out in it, is I always get out of the sun when my skin gets red or hot, or sort of pink or hot. I eat a lot of high lycopene foods, which is the phytonutrient which has been shown to be most protective of the skin. It builds up in the skin, strangely, and protects us. And here's a really interesting thing. My favourite high lycopene foods are tomatoes, watermelons, and red dragon fruit, all of which happen over summer. And it's interesting, isn't it, that these foods which are intensely red help stop our skin getting red. It's funny how nature works. So I get out of the sun when my skin gets pink or hot, have a whole lot of high lycopene foods. The lycopene builds up in my skin, helps protect me. Also, the best phytonutrient for protection of the prostate gland, which is very important for men. And I use my sun tonic made out of a whole lot of local plants and oils. And I learned about that from spending a lot of time living in the Pacific Islands, visiting Arizona and doing some work with the Apache there. And it's interesting that traditional populations have always used systems to protect their skin, and that's been essential oils from plants and oils from animals. So that's something that we've done historically for a long period of time. So I get out of the sun when my skin's hit too much, eat a lot of high lycopene food, use my skin tonic to nourish and repair my skin when I'm out in the sun. And of course the other thing to remember is our best protection for our skin against the sun is developing a healthy tan. And that's the whole concept of getting exposed to some difficulties so that we get stronger, the Spartan approach to life. Same with our eyes. I mean, the eyes build up the way the eye is protected from macular degeneration is it builds up pigments in the eye after exposure to sun, which help protect the macula from the damaging parts of the sun. Same thing with our skin. Exposure to sunlight, we build up a tan in our skin to help us protect us from the damaging aspects of the sun. And it's a whole concept of not always training. I've spent a lot of time training with special forces. I trained with the SAS in Australia, and I've read a lot of books on the Navy SEALs. Doesn't matter which one it is, if they're not out fighting, they're training. Because if you're not exercising, you're getting weak. It's the same thing with our immune system. Our immune system needs to be challenged to be stronger, and that was shown recently in New Zealand with this big outbreak of the respiratory syncytial virus, which is another virus which causes problems particularly in young children because of their social isolation. They weren't getting exposed to pathogens to exercise their immune system, so their immune system was getting weaker, which wasn't protecting them against the other pathogens in the environment. So that's why getting our skin exposed to the sun, we're exercising it and we build up its resistance to damage, just like we should be doing the same thing for our immune systems, exercising it, training it, exposing it to pathogens so it gets stronger. And that's it for today. It's midwinter here in the Northern Rivers, so the ocean will be nice and cold, so I'm going to go for a dip. Catch you next week. Peace and love. Namaste. And of course, so those 3 studies, one was on, well, 2 were about the sun,